Well, welcome, and I am your host, and my name is Britton. Today, I just wanted to get on here before we start our conversation and let you know that I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I speak to people that are in those professions, and this channel is for information only. Hopefully, it's good information that you can apply to your life. So, as I speak to those guests, and if you feel like you want to support any of those, some of them are authors, blogs, mental health advocates. They have foundations, not-for-profits. If you want to support those people, I'll put the links in the description below. Also, if you'd like to support the Suicide Monk podcast and help keep this moving forward, I'll put that GoFundMe in the link below. I'll put the link down there for the Ashes to Life coaching as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us keep moving forward. And any prayers, lifting up, good vibes, we will take them. Thanks a lot. Again, we'll see you on the good side. Well, welcome to the Suicide Monk, and my name is Britton. And today we have Larry Sprung. He is the best-selling author of Financial Planning Made Personal, correct?
That is correct, Britton.
Yeah. And you have a financial institution that it's actually, the name of it's Mitlin Financial.
Correct. Mitlin Financial.
Yeah. And there's a story behind that. There's a story with honoring the name.
There is, yeah. MIT was my wife's grandfather, Mitchell. LIN was my mother, Linda. And they were just really two great people. And unfortunately, they passed away literally within hours of each other. And then I met my wife. We did not know each other. We were kind of met after the fact. We're reconciling why we were where we were. And it turned out that we realized her grandfather, Mitchell, my mom, Linda, passed away within a couple hours of each other, like I said. And essentially, when we were thinking of how we and what we were going to name the firm, it all started coming back to these two individuals that were very instrumental in our life, just really great people, representative of a lot of the values that we wanted to instill in an organization that we would create, and for and with the families we serve. So that's what we ended up using the mashup and naming the firm.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
What a way to honor people you love, and what a story! What a story! Just these tragedies brought blessing.
It's our most asked question. Where the heck did the name come from? Because they know nobody works here with that first name or last name. It's often asked question. And we did, I think it was our first podcast episode about that in terms of where the name came from.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's right. You guys have a podcast on financial planning. Is that? I'm assuming it's probably more in depth than what I understand about finances.
Actually, it's not that heavy on the financial end of things. It's it's all around the thought process around joy and creating joy in our lives. And we have folks that are entrepreneurs, professional athletes, and mental health professionals. So I'm very active in the mental health space as well. Wow. And the whole impetus behind the podcast is just to create more joy in our listeners' lives.
I love that, man. That's awesome. What's it called?
Sometimes talking that financial stuff that makes it very difficult to derive joy, but we try to do our best. It's the Mitlin Money Mindset. What did you do today that brought you joy?
Nice. I like that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
We'll plug that in the description so people can look at that. So you'd reached out and you wanted to be on the Suicide Monk, and there's also, from what I'm gathering, there's a lot of there's a big story behind that. And
yeah.
So now, did you or have you ever been associated? Well, you're going to get into that for me. Prior to this event, have you ever been associated with this type of thinking or this mental health struggle, like with suicide? And have you been around it? Have you?
No, I'm pretty open that my first experience is really around mental illness and suicide were the experiences that I went through with my brother-in-law, and that led me on my journey of, like you, having open and honest conversations, because I think that's really our path to breaking down barriers and reducing the stigma and having people understand that there are ways and means to get help and live hopefully a joyful life in some way.
Right, right. So do you want to kind of dive into that story for me and the background on that? Because you've done some interesting work in regards to that as well. Some profound
Yeah.
work, actually.
Yeah. So, like I said, my first experience with regard to mental health and suicide was my brother-in-law was diagnosed bipolar, and watched him go through the trials and tribulations of what somebody with that disease goes through, and unfortunately, the culmination of his disease ended up with him taking his life in September of 2004.
Hmm.
Ironically, or I guess coincidentally, it was a month before I launched Mitlin Financial,
Oh,
which
wow.
we had, had some conversation around whether or not we were going to move forward with it, and we did because we thought that that was something that he would want, and I saw his struggles with mental illness and suffering from bipolar disorder, and after his passing, I was trying to think about things or situations in my life that might have been poignant that because I had never experienced this before, and and deep down I really felt to some degree that I didn't realize somebody who was bipolar could die this way, that this was a result when all said and
Hmm.
done, as he was
Yeah.
going through this. So as we were thinking about it, and my wife and I were talking about my brother-in-law, her brother's life, we really made a concerted decision at that point that we weren't going to let him go quietly. We were going to have those conversations, and we were going to figure out a way to have his legacy and his name go on in a positive fashion and use it as a platform and a tool to help others that may be struggling. And we've seen a lot of change in the last 20 plus years since his passing. We clearly have a long way to go, but I will tell you, things are much different
Yeah.
today in
Hmm.
terms of conversation, people being open, willing,
Absolutely.
sharing,
Yeah.
than we saw 20 years ago. It's night and day, but we still have a
Yeah.
long way to go.
Yeah, for sure. When I started this, it was really risky, even a couple of years ago. And coming out because there's not many podcasts with suicide, especially from my side of it. I don't know that there's any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on that ideology side of it. My narrative to my story has changed though. So that's one of the big things and the big catalyst that has, me changing that perspective towards my story
Mm-hmm.
has been huge. How what did you learn about bipolar through this whole thing? What was the experience for you on your side of it?
Yeah, I don't know that it's so much about what I learned about that specific disease or mental health issue, however you want to term it. It was really more or less about just mental health in general, in terms of our takeaways. Clearly the system, which I don't know that this has changed all that much. The system's very difficult to navigate. It's very difficult to figure out or get help or resources if you want or need them. And, at the time when, he was struggling, it was even difficult to talk about because it
Mhm.
wasn't being as widely spoken about or discussed. So, there were many times that my wife would get to the house and he was in the middle of his workday and he was laying on our couch because he needed to duck out for a little while. And
Mhm.
thankfully, the employer that he worked for was well aware of his situation, and they were very sympathetic to him and empathetic, and allowed him to take what
Wow.
he needed. Unfortunately, it just he struggled, and he used to tell me that every day he felt like he had a 105-degree fever and he was fighting the flu. So
Mhm.
like body aches and everything. So imagine if you woke up every day feeling like that. So it was a learning process. And I don't think at the end of the day, it was just specific to bipolar disorder. It was really to mental health in general and the importance of it. And the fact that there's really not a whole lot of difference between our physical health and our mental health. They're directly and inexplicably, intertwined, and without having one of them being healthy and good, you can't have the other. And it really just sent us down a path to raising awareness, getting involved in the mental health movement, if you will, and raising funds to assist some of those projects that were being worked on in those specific areas.
Yeah. You've raised quite a bit of money, from what I saw, close to $2 million, really.
That is
And, th-
right. Yeah.
and that's for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. Is that right?
American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It's a
For,
mouthful. So
yeah.
yeah. I also sat on their national board for about 15 years. I'm currently still a member of their finance and investment committee, and still an organization that I'm very involved with. I personally just I guess most recently I had skated in a 24-hour hockey game
Nice.
over Labor Day weekend back in late 2024. The final numbers just came in. I personally raised $15,000, and the event that I played in, Hockey Helps, they're matching that fundraising effort, and they're going to be writing a check any day now to the Keith Milano Memorial Fund for about $30,000. So yeah, we're continuing to raise money for efforts and for the cause to help raise more awareness where we can.
Wow. That's amazing. And it's hockey
Hockey Helps, yes.
helps.
Yeah, they play a 24-hour game every Labor Day weekend from Saturday at 10 a.m. to Sunday at 10 a.m. I got involved with them 2 years ago, and in 2023 was the first time I skated with them. And in 2024, because they also support a lot of mental health initiatives, because of my involvement with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, they offered me that whatever I raised through my fundraising efforts, they would match very generously. So we were excited about that, and we kind of got a late start last year, but I'm working with them now to get an earlier start for the 2025 skate, and we're hoping and anticipating that they're going to do the same. So we're looking forward to that.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Oh, I love hockey. That's my favorite.
There you go.
Um, did you used to play?
I did, and both my boys currently still play.
Nice. Any leagues or?
My younger son plays in the North American Hockey League, junior
Nice.
hockey. He's in between high school and college. He's committed to Brown University in 2026. And my older son plays at Drexel in Philadelphia. And, I guess somewhat ironically, he just, this past weekend, I was out with him. He played in his last two collegiate hockey games. So
Nice.
he's at the tail end of his career now, moving into refereeing and going to get paid to skate and ref other people playing.
Man, that's awesome. It's
So
such a good game. So much
it
fun.
is.
And it's got such a great mentality behind it. I love
Yeah.
it. Love
Thank you.
just about everything about the game. So,
Who's your team?
Avs. I've always been
Okay.
an Avs fan. So,
All right. We were
yeah.
just out there in November. We saw the Avs play
Did you?
in Colorado. Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
it's a good game.
Actually, I went to a psilocybin therapy ranch because
Mhm.
I'm on the heavy side of ideology. Well, I was going to go take my life, and threw a Hail Mary. And Kyle Quincy, he played for the Avs. He
Mhm.
owns the ranch, so I got to,
Gotcha.
yeah. So I got to meet. He's actually on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Danny Carcillo, who's
Hmm.
also very involved in that space. I had him on
Yeah.
my show.
Did you?
Yeah, and he's very involved in that space as well.
Yeah. It's amazing how many of these guys that well, professional athlete, well, just about any athlete that's had head injury, concussion, anything like that, just how they struggle, especially because they're stripped of everything. They're
Hmm.
stripped of their team, their coaches, their mentors, and they're retired at these young ages, and in their 30s, and don't know what they're going to do. And then you have so many concussions, and it's you're you have these heavy mood swings. So that's where the psilocybin has really helped with a lot of these guys moving forward. It helps
Right.
repair that brain, that neuroplasticity.
Hmm.
Um, I know it's still kind of just like suicide is still a pretty taboo subject for, you know, magic mushrooms, as people would put it, but it's not about the adventure in that. It's about breaking down the walls that
Yeah, and
we've built.
I think that's where I think there has to be some additional education, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
that the public sees it as a pathway to like party drug, right?
Yep. Yep.
And not what it's being medically used for. And I think that's something that potentially needs to be educated, and there
Yep.
needs to be some specific, I guess, medical journals need to start cover. I know they're covering it, but they need to cover it more to help educate the public a little bit more about
Yeah.
the positive effects of it.
Well, and I think honestly, it may start to speak for itself. Um, it saved my life. I was within days
Hmm.
of, I
No,
was
thankfully
90.
it did.
Yeah. I mean, I was 99% sure it wasn't going to work. And I was 99% sure I was dead in 2 days. And that 1% was enough.
Hmm.
And I'm still here and I'm like working. I'm keeping the train moving. So that
Yeah.
was, you know, 8, 9 months ago.
And you're
And
not the only story that I've heard
right.
very similarly.
Yeah. And like, I don't have a desire to go out and do mushrooms all the time. Like, I have no
Right.
desire to go out and do that. That's not even on the table. It's because what it did was give me the motivation to start to respect myself,
Hmm.
which I've never done before. So it's interesting because I didn't know I didn't respect myself.
Right.
So yeah, sorry to hear about your brother-in-law, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I
That
appreciate
those
that.
losses are never easy. Um, it's and there's no answers to the questions of why. Um, Especially if you don't experience those things, you don't really understand that. Um,
Well, I mean, listen, for us, I know we didn't necessarily need to know the answer to that
sure,
question
sure,
particularly, um, because we saw it. We were, my wife in particular was there side by side with him, going to his doctor's appointments, going through, with him exactly what he was experiencing. So we saw the
yep,
pain and the trials and the tribulations. So, in one regard, when it happened, right, you're like, okay, you're devastated because you weren't expecting it to happen. But after you kind of take a step back and kind of see what he experienced and how he described his symptoms and feeling, it's a tough way to live. And I don't think it's any different than that potential, that cancer patient that's suffering from a cancer diagnosis and
right,
having to go through chemotherapy. It's similar. Unfortunately, we for a very long time didn't see it as similar, and we felt like they were very different, and we viewed that very differently and felt like they were very similar from the very beginning.
yeah. Well, and you walked where most people are don't really have the ability to, and that's you walked the distance with somebody that actually took their life,
Mm-hmm.
and you did what you could. Most people walk away from that, so you did get to see the close up of a lot of that. I'm well, I mean that's a lot of gratitude
Yeah.
from this side of it because a lot of us don't get anybody to walk next to us. And
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think I I don't want you to please don't take this the wrong way, but
no,
in the '90s, my mom, who I mentioned earlier, in the namesake of my firm, Linda, she passed away at 47, and
mm,
she was sick for about 10, 12 years, right?
mm-hmm,
She had cancer. And with cancer, we saw a similar thing. There were
right,
people back then, right? It was not what we know about cancer today. And back then, there were friends of the family that disassociated with her
mm,
because, for whatever reason, they didn't want to be around her. They didn't want to deal with it. Maybe they thought they could catch it. I don't know, but there are similar, I think, parallels between the two,
yes,
and I think as we get to learn more and we get educated and we start talking about more of those things, maybe eventually, mental health will be similar to cancer in terms of many of the cancers that come about today are either curable to a degree or you can live with them. And maybe this will be the same way, hopefully one day.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think there's an alternate path to what I wanted to do and take my life. I think there's life to be had, and how we help people change that perspective of who they are, I think is very valuable. Um, and that was kind of my thing, as my perspective was off, of my story. So how do you use your, I obviously use your financial institution or background and knowledge to contribute to this, well, I was going to say movement, but it's not really a movement. It's this cause or this purpose. You've really
Yeah.
transferred this into something meaningful for you and your family.
Yeah, and we've done it in a number of different ways. Some of them are financially inclined, like we talked about earlier, with doing fundraising efforts, like I did
Right.
with the hockey game. My wife does a fundraising effort in May where she gets a collection of authors that
Hmm.
for the most part in the romance field that donate a portion of their proceeds from their book sales in the month of May for Mental Health Awareness Month to my brother-in-law's charity. So we do quite a bit on the financial side of things, but also, in the community, people know that this is something I've experienced. I'm very open and willing to talk about. So we get outreach to from the community. I just got a message literally today from somebody I went to college with that I hadn't spoken to in a long time, and she's having some issues with one of her children, and she needs help with resources. Not that I'm a doctor, but there are certain things that I can guide her to, and I'm going to reach out to her later today and have that conversation. But we've been helping people like that for years now, and
Nice.
there have been many instances where somebody would reach out, we get them the help we need, and I'm happy to report that that person is still living like yourself, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about the money a lot because raising a couple $1 million is looked at and at awe sometimes, but at the same time, I'd give that all up to, today, tomorrow, to just save another life if we
Right.
could. And, the money is less important than that. So we've become that resource to help families, which is great. And then I guess the third way is in terms of being in a wealth management field, right? A lot of advisors and people in my position or profession talk a lot about numbers, financially, meaning how much money you're going to need in retirement or how much you should be saving. And what we talk about is, the three-legged stool. We talk about your physical health, we talk about your mental health, and we talk about your financial health. And if all those are not really doing well, it impacts the other and can have a profound effect. And that's why we talk a lot about joy and what's going to bring joy to other people's lives. And, as a result of losing my brother-in-law at an early age and losing my mom at an early age as well, I have a little bit different perspective when I speak with families who have come from an advisor who's talked to them about what they want to do in retirement and socking all this money away for retirement, which is much needed, by the way. But at the
Sure.
same time, you can't do that at the risk of not enjoying today, because there are a lot of people like my mom, like my brother-in-law, that will never see 65 or 70 or whatever their
Right.
retirement age is. So you have to get them or help them see a path to satisfying both those masters, if you will, meaning the master of enjoyment today and finding joy and fulfillment, and also providing some resources that if and when there comes a time you want to retire later on and you're in good health and you have the ability to, that there are resources there to help you as well. So those are really the three fronts that we're working on: is raising money, helping people point blank, and then through the financial practice, as I mentioned, helping them navigate this course that of life that they're on.
Right. How do you motivate them to, if they're not in the physical part of that or the mental part of that? How do you
Yeah, so
motivate them to kind of get the whole triangle of of motivation going.
Yeah, so it's a matter of, if we're there to help them on the financial end, there might be people or resources that they need on that physical and mental health end, right? It
Okay.
may mean figuring out or getting a trainer to help motivate you to get out and do that physical activity, or scheduling it, or
Yep.
figuring out what works for you, because everybody gets motivated and does things in different ways. So it's a matter of finding what works for you. And on the mental health side, we're not we have no problem with talking about bringing in, or having them talk to a counselor or therapist if needed, depending on what their situation is. We've to be completely frank, we've gotten calls from families that we work with where somebody's going through trial and tribulation, and they want to know where to turn, and we help guide them because
Hmm.
they feel comfortable having those conversations, because we're very open and honest about mental health. Whereas I think if, as an advisor, I wasn't, I don't know that I would still get those same calls that I get
Right.
sometimes. So, we don't profess to be able to solve those areas, but
Sure.
we want them to be addressed and make sure that they're addressing them. And if needed, to bring in the proper resources and support to help them in those other two areas that we are not experts in.
That's amazing. I mean, you're not seeing a lot of companies doing that, saying, "Hey, we're not experts here, but we want to provide this opportunity for you to have this as well," and having the open conversation about those things being valuable to their financial, um, or in the areas wherever those things are, wherever they're at. All of those things are very important to their mental, everything building and moving forward, basically.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if they're saving or accumulating money or assets, at the end of the day, they're not just accumulating assets or money to accumulate money. There's some motivation behind it, right? Whether
Hmm.
it's to experience joy today, experience joy later, leave a family legacy, whatever that is. So we have to work with them to kind of figure that out, and then work on goals that will satisfy those two things, creating joy and fulfillment today, and for their future goals as well.
Hmm. And working with the foundations and being on the board, do you come across a lot of people that are, because I don't really understand, I don't know where you're at in that whole thing, but do you come across a lot of people, or are you directly involved with people like me that are actively in their ideology?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the organization that I was very involved with, as we mentioned, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, they didn't get, one of the areas that they, did not get involved with was like counseling and behavioral therapy, things of that nature. It was founded as a research organization, so about a third of their revenue goes to funding research studies. And then the remainder of their areas go to survivor initiatives, education, and advocacy, things like that. So I did not have day to day interaction through those board meetings
Gotcha.
with folks like yourself. There were, however, I will share that there were people on the board involved with the local chapters in the local community that had similar stories to you, that got involved with the organization because they found their path to living, and thankfully, and they wanted to have an impact on others, and wanted to help others, so they became active in the organization as a result. And I met them through that involvement and had conversations. And then my other involvement is with people in the community who've reached out saying that they're having a trial or tribulation,
Mm.
and that they need some kind of assistance. Can we point them in the right direction?
Yeah. Do you find, I'm working with my own finances right now, and for probably, I've always had a bad relationship with money because it always came with consequences growing up the way I grew up. And so now I'm realizing the value of, I've saved money, I've put it aside, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm understanding the value it has to not control me from that side of it. Some people let it control them from the other side of it, where they want to gain it and get it all. I want to go back to bartering, because I don't. It's bothersome to me, and
Right.
those consequences created this huge wall for me. But now I'm starting to climb that wall, and now I understand the value of it's not just about a security. It's an opportunity to pursue my dreams, my goals, but also help people. And because of my bad relationship, I understand that in my brain, but my body says no. So there's the things that we hear a lot. The body holds the memories, and so my reaction to money is very adverse. But again, without facing that, I'm not going to get any better. So I don't know where I was going with that. I forgot where I was going with that. Sorry, buddy.
That's all right. Listen. I think it's a learning experience, right? And if you have troubles around money or anything else, it just takes time, effort, and energy to kind of work through that. It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah, and I see the value because it's the discipline behind it. I think intentional discipline. So I think that's the value of what I'm thinking is it'd be like doing exercise. I started yoga and exercise and meditation, all these things. With those things come huge benefits. I mean, that's how I start the day. So
Right.
it's a different practice that I put in place that is actually very, very beneficial. Is it hard? Yes, absolutely. Those things are hard because it's not my natural reaction to life. My natural reaction is to sit and do nothing and wallow in my stuff or think about it or just get lost in it. And now I'm taking responsibility for these building blocks in my life. And that one of those happens to be financial. So I'm trying to find balance in that. Because I would imagine people come to you in some sort of despair. That's not their only despair, but in some sort of despair, and finances are a big part of this despair, especially in this country. It's like rampant. People are so afraid of not being secure. How have you helped people or seen people that you've helped change their perspective on their life and find some healing in other places because of the finances?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess, unfortunately, many of the families that we serve are not necessarily in despair, right?
Okay.
And I think that most people, when they're seeking out a financial advisor or a firm to help them out with money in regards to the way that we help families, um, they're not thinking about those kind of conversations because I don't think that they're readily had throughout the profession. I don't think we're representative of how most would handle it, and
Okay.
rightfully so to some degree. And in terms of most have not had the experiences that I've had that I can share and have that knowledge set on
Mm.
to have those conversations. So I would say that it's far less frequent that we have those issues or challenges that we have to overcome, but we
Gotcha.
do. I mean, there are certain people that are super stressed over money, and some of those people have a lot of it, some of them not a lot, but either way, stress is stress, and it's just a matter of getting them in a place where I think having a budget, for example,
Mm.
to some, just thinking about getting a budget is stressful. But once they have the budget in place and they have a framework in mind, it
Right.
actually relieves them of a lot of stress because
Right.
they now have an understanding of what they have coming in every month, what they have going out, and where that money is going, and a matter of tracking it to that. Same thing with a financial plan. I think a lot of stress with folks comes from the fact that they're just kind of going along haphazardly in terms of just trying to accumulate a certain amount of money or a certain amount of wealth with really no meaning and emphasis behind it. So we try to have those conversations around putting a plan together and getting a plan in place and having conversations about what those goals and objectives are, and really putting it down and then tracking it. And again, there is some stress with putting that together, But ultimately, once you have that together, I think it actually relieves a great deal of stress because
Right.
now you have a framework to follow and go along. So I
Yeah.
find that those are two of probably the more simple tools that we use that are super helpful for reducing stress and enhancing people's mental health.
Hmm. Yeah. As you're speaking, I'm like, well, it sounds like you're setting boundaries for yourself. We set
Mm-hmm.
the big thing in mental health is setting boundaries, and we think of that oftentimes as setting boundaries for the outside world. Like, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm not going to do this. It's not going to happen. But the boundary is really set for you. So you start to learn to respect yourself and build your wealth within. And in this case, on the external.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like the thought process in that. You're setting for me, as the way I look at it, or the way I'm associating this, is that now I get to set boundaries for myself that are really beneficial. Again, it's just like going and working out at the gym. It takes a certain amount of
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable discipline to go to the gym until you get used to it. And then it's like smooth sailing for the most part.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can feel the effects of it. You start feeling better. You
Yeah.
start looking better, and
Yeah.
that doesn't happen overnight. And when all those things start hitting and kicking in, it just becomes this self fulfilling prophecy that you want to continue it because
Yeah.
of the way that you feel and you look.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about manifestation as well. And, if you think it, you can acquire it and blah, blah, blah. But it's really about the discipline side of it. It's about
Mhm.
what you're talking about. And it is going to be uncomfortable up front. It is going to be hard up front. But the benefit, it far outweighs the consistent stress that we go through on a daily basis about the same thing over. The hamster wheel that we run on, especially in finance. Well, I've been in that hamster wheel where you don't know where it's coming, what's going out, what's coming in. You have an idea, but you're not sure why you're broke at the end of the month.
Right,
You can't
right.
see it all. You can't see
Hmm.
all the things from the gas station, or
Especially
you
if you're not looking.
or Amazon. Yeah, it's blindful. It's willful blindness, or
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. So
you're right.
yeah, no, I love it, man. That's good. And as I'm talking to you, I feel that relief. Like, I want to, I want to add another area of my life that creates. It might create stress now again, but that will relieve a lot of my worry. And that's why I write everything down. If I get an appointment, I just put it in the calendar. Why? So I don't have to think about it. So I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So I don't have to know if I forgot something. So I don't have. Once it's in the calendar, I don't have to worry about it. It's not on my plate. And that's how I'm trying to look at life now: is put it in the calendar and then take care of it when you're supposed to, and
Right.
stay in the moment and in today, and plan for your future, but live today. So how do you help people find joy through that financial side of it? And I understand, well, they get to have vacation money, they have retirement money, but the day to day.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. And I don't think that there's one method or means or approach to that we take for everybody. Right? Everybody's different. I think sometimes the initial reaction from many of the families we work with are like, "What are you talking about? I've never seen a financial advisor talk about this stuff." And sometimes it takes multiple meetings because it takes them out by surprise, and they're like, I never thought about it in this way. I need to put some serious thought
Mhm.
into this. And others right away, they have some specific ideas on how and what it would be joyful for them in terms of, I want to be able to go on a trip a year. I want to be able to give X number of dollars to charity. I want to be around to spend time with my grandkids. Whatever that is, it might be I want to go to a coffee shop every day and have a coffee. I get a lot of joy out of that. And, we're not there to say anything is worse or better than the other, because this
Right.
is their joy and their dream. So we just help them, figure out a way that they're going to be able to execute on that and get what they want from life. And, make sure that they're mindful that any of these things that have financial impacts, that they're being budgeted for and they're being
Mm.
accounted for. And as long as they're budgeted for and accounted for, and they're able to find that joy, reach their goals and objectives at the same time within, and stay within their means, we're all for it. But if it ends up crossing the line and they're not within their means, then we have to go back and kind of point them back to that budget and say, relook at it, because something's got to be cut out from somewhere for you to be able to do this. And we're not going to make that determination, because people derive joy from so many different places that I'm not going to be the person to say you should cut out X when they get a lot of joy from X.
Right.
They may want to cut out Y. So we have to let them do that self-reflection and figure out what's ideal for them to cut out or remain. But as long as it's within the framework of their budget and they can afford it and keep on track for their goals, then go ahead and do it. And that was one of the impetuses behind my book, because I got kind of fed up with a lot of these so-called financial pundits out there saying everybody should be doing this or everybody should be doing that, or you can't be going to Starbucks and paying $5 a cup of coffee every day. Because if you took that $5 and put it in a Roth IRA for the next 20 years, you'd have an extra $100,000 or whatever that number is.
Right.
And you know what? Maybe I get a lot of joy out of getting that cup of coffee, sitting down at the coffee shop and looking out the window for a half hour. And if you do, and you can do it, and it's budgeted for, great, do it. Take the time to enjoy that coffee.
So allowing your clients to allow themselves grace.
Agreed.
Basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And not be so hard on themselves, because it is a lot of time, in society, it's a guilt thing, especially when you're dealing with finance. It's like, well, you hear it all the time. Well, it's only $1. It's only a pop a day,
Right.
or a soda a day, or whatever. It's like, yeah, but I like that soda.
That may be health issues. That might be different than the financial thing. So
Right.
I don't know. That depends.
Right.
That's
That's the other one. But yeah. Well, Larry, is there anything else you'd like to talk to us about? Leave us with anything that's profoundly changed? I know the event with your brother-in-law really kind of pointed you in a direction, and really apparently touched your heart in a way that has moved your family in helping others that are stricken with mental health. And that's great. I mean, I love that. Thank you for all you guys have done. We need to keep the train moving, and from all aspects. And apparently it's from a financial, I never thought of it that way, but
Well, I appreciate that. And I would like to say that I appreciate you, and I appreciate you using this platform to have these open and honest conversations, and you sharing your own experiences and stories. Because like I said earlier, it's people like you and sharing these stories that is going to help the countless others that are suffering. It may just move one or many to seek the help that they need. And, if I could leave your listeners with anything today, I think it would be these two things. And that is, one, if you are, suffering, or, have mental illness or just anxiety, and you're unsure what to do, it's okay to ask for help. Go out there and ask for help. Talk to a friend. Find a group of trusted people to have a conversation with. It's okay to be not okay, and seek help, because I think that to some degree people feel like if I'm not well or feeling anxious or depressed, that this is something that has to last forever. And listen, in some instances, there are people that struggle for their entire lifetime. I understand that. And there are others that it's situational, or there might be an event going on in their life that they may need to get some assistance with, get over that hump or hurdle, and get back on the right track. We see that quite often as well. But no matter where you are from, on that path, it's okay to find the help and the resources that you need. And if you want to, I guess the second piece I would leave your listeners with, if you want to learn more about the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and what we've done with the Keith Milano Memorial Fund, you could just go to keithmilano.org. We have his entire story there. And, if you're interested in getting your finances in order and help the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, because we are donating all the proceeds from the book sales. I don't make a dime off the sales of the book that I wrote. It's all going to his fund. If you go to mitlin.us /2 chapters, you can read the first 2 chapters for free. And if you find it interesting and helpful to you, you could always move on and buy it either through Amazon or in an audio book, which I did the voiceover on, or in a hard copy is available, and all those proceeds go to the Keith Milano Memorial Fund.
Yeah, I'll probably pick up that audiobook then. That's awesome, man. I really love that you're doing that, and you took your tragedy and turned it into a massive purpose, and it's hard to do. A lot of people.
You're doing it every day here.
Well,
it can be done.
It can be done. Yes. Well, thank you, Larry, for being here. It's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for the motivation. Thanks for, sparking that little bit of fire in me, and because it's just another avenue that I really want to improve in my life and just be the best I can be for myself, and so that I can be the best I can be for others. So
there you go. Well, keep up the good work.
Yeah, we'll see you on the good side.